Welcome everyone to the annual Sikhlens Sikh Arts and Film Festival. This will be our first virtual film festival in Southern California, though we've hosted virtual events in other parts of the country. We plan on hosting more virtual festivals this year, but sincerely hope to be back to our regular format next November. I'm sure all of you are hoping for things to be back to normal next year as well. As many of you know, I'm Pavneet Mac, and I'm your host for the evening. For those of you that don't know me, I am a labor and employment defense attorney. Aside from my day job though, since the pandemic began, I've made a concerted effort to help the underserved and underrepresented communities stay afloat during this time and navigate the complex and frankly confusing sets of laws that have been enacted as a direct response to the coronavirus. If any of you have questions from unemployment, employment, business loans, leaves of absence, landlord-tenant issues, anything at all, please reach out to me and I'll try my best to assist you. I believe I've been involved with Sikhlens for over 10 years now, and I've been the MC at many of our Thursday evening events. But of course, this virtual event is a definite first for me. In the past, our Thursday night program was held on the campus of Chapman University. We hosted our keynote speakers and the launch of our 120-day exhibit in the Leatherby Libraries. And as many of you know, we would have a wonderful dinner in the Fish Interfaith Center right after. So tonight, you'll have to imagine that you are on the Chapman campus in the Leatherby Libraries, where you can see our latest artwork exhibited on the walls, and will then walk to the Fish Interfaith Center, where you can smell the delicious food. To make it a little easier to imagine all that, we have several guests from Chapman joining us this evening. First and foremost, I'd like to welcome President Daniel Struppa. President Struppa came to Chapman University from George Mason University, where he served as director of the Center for the Applications of Mathematics, as chair of the Department of Mathematical Sciences, and as associate dean for graduate studies. In '97, he was selected dean of George Mason's College of Arts and Sciences. He joined Chapman University in 2006 as provost, and in 2007, he was appointed as Chapman's first chancellor. He became the 13th president of Chapman University in 2016. To welcome everyone officially, I'd like to introduce the president of Chapman University, President Daniel Struppa.
Hello, everybody. My name is Daniel Struppa, and the president of Chapman University. Let me begin by thanking all of you for connecting with us, and let me offer you all my warmest wishes for your health as you battle this pandemic that has upended our lives. I know you're connected with us from all parts of the world with all kinds of different time zones, and I'm very grateful for the attention that you are giving us. It is a great pleasure for me to welcome you all to the annual Sikhlens Art Film. For the first time, I have to say, in a virtual format. This is a film festival that is hosted in collaboration with our spectacular Dodge College of Film and Media Arts. And speaking of our college, I need to share a couple of, how you call them, bragging moments. The college has just been ranked as number 6 in the nation by the very influential Hollywood Reporter, and as number 4 in the nation by The Wrap. And these are very, very important successes. Both of these rankings are the highest we have ever achieved. And I'm very grateful to our new dean, Stephen Galloway, for his tremendous work and for putting in place those actions that have led to this growth. If this were a normal year, we probably would be gathered right now in the Leatherby Libraries, opening the annual Sikhlens exhibit, or maybe we'll already be attending dinner at the Fish Interface Center, or finally we would be opening the festival on the red carpet at the Dodge College. But I don't have to tell you, this is not a normal year by any stretch of the imagination. And I can tell you that even though I'm happy to participate virtually, I can tell you how I can't wait to be back and to be able to see and welcome everybody to our beautiful campus. As a matter of fact, our campus has reopened just a few weeks ago, albeit partially, I have to say, and we are beginning to see a few more students on campus, in the classrooms and in our beautiful public spaces. As you may imagine, our summer has been devoted almost exclusively to the double challenge that the corona crisis has imposed on us, the financial challenge and the health and safety challenge. And I'm proud to say that with the tremendous collaboration from our staff, our faculty, our senior staff administrators, and our board of governors and board of trustees, we are emerging from both challenges both stronger and more flexible than we have ever been before. So this is really something that I hope as friends of the university you all will be proud of. I should also add that the crisis has not slowed us down. In fact, there are many new initiatives that are underway, and many of them have been spurred by our renewed commitment to diversity and inclusion. I'm sure you know that for several years since my becoming president in 2016, we have launched a diversity and inclusion effort, and now we are building on the ideas that germinated over the last several years. We are currently engaged in the search for our very first Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion, a person who is going to be spearhead all of these very important initiatives. We have allocated a very significant budget, remarkable, especially in times like this one, remarkable budget for to support faculty and staff diversification push. And this is under the leadership of Vice Provost L.B. Brown and the Vice President of Human Resources, Brian Power. As I close my opening comments, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to two very important people, two very good friends of ours, Becky and Gurpreet Singh. I want to thank them for all they do for Chapman every day. I've seen their passion in the reception they host every year for our international students. And if I can share a secret, those receptions are the best food ever. And that's one of the many reasons why they're among my very favorite events. I've seen their intentionality in their involvement with the Dutch College that led for the last 30 years to the festival that you're attending today. And finally, I've seen their ability to bring people together through their incredible collaboration with the Leatherby Libraries and the Fish Interface Center and many other extraordinary initiatives on campus, including major exhibit, the yearly Sikh Vaisakhi holiday, and the dedication of a Sikh cabinet. And I'm pleased to add on this note that since January 2019, Becky has been serving on our board of governors, sharing his wisdom and his passion with other great supporters of Chapman University. I know you're connected from all around the world, and that's not to listen to me going on and on about everything great that is going on. So let me just close by thanking you again very much, and I wish you all a very successful and enjoyable festival. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Struppa. Many of you will recognize our next speaker. Esra Nawar is a development librarian at the Leatherby Libraries. She has been a strong supporter of Sikhlens and a regular at Sikhlens events for several years.
Hello, everyone. My name is Essraa Nawar, and I am the development librarian and the chair of the Arts, Exhibits, and Events Committee at the Leatherby Libraries at Chapman University. And I want to welcome all of you to the 8th annual exhibit of the Sikhlens Art and Film Festival at the Leatherby Libraries. Even though we're holding the exhibit for the first time ever virtually because of the worldwide pandemic, we're still having a program that is going to be exciting and also engaging for all of you. As I look back at all the exhibits that we've done through the years, I want to thank Becky and Gurpreet Singh for all the work that they have put together to make these exhibits happen. I remember the first time I met Becky in 2012 and the energy that he brought to the table and the way that we thought together on how to bring these programs and events together. At this time, every single year, the week before Thanksgiving, we are always gathered in the Doyen D. Henley Reading Room, 200 plus people listening to speakers, enjoying a wonderful exhibit that automatically gets deposited in our special collections and archives libraries. Throughout the weekend, I also have the honor to give tours of the various members of the Sikh community to the Sikh and Sikhism in America story room that was generously funded by Gurvendra Suri in 2017. I really am proud and honored to have been part of this journey. As a Muslim American myself, I recognize the importance of the work that the Sikh community does, that to help not just the Sikh in America, but also all minorities. We've worked on so many projects at Sikhlens, including projects that also extended throughout the campus, where we host a yearly langar, as well as a yearly Fish Interfaith Center Vaisakhi celebration. I got to learn so much about the Sikh community, the Sikh contributions in America, as well as the Sikh culture and religion. It's been a pleasure to welcome the Sikhs in our campus and also to collaborate with them on so many projects. I hope that this collaboration will continue forever and for generations to come, and for people to come back and look at our campus and all the things and the contributions that have been done by the Sikh community and Sikhlens. I also want to thank all the donors and the friends of the Leatherby Libraries, as well as the Sikhlens Foundations, who help make all these projects happen. I know that there's a lot of great movies that will be happening this weekend. I know that my family have enjoyed this film festival throughout the last 8 years. We would be sitting at the Dodge Film and Media Art College. All the theaters right there are filled with a number of the community members. I know 600 plus people attend the yearly opening. And I know that I will be missing attending this physically, but I know that Vicky and his team have prepared a very engaging virtual exhibit and Sikhlens Film Festival for us. So please enjoy the weekend. I hope that we all continue to stay safe throughout the coming year so we can all come back together for the 9th annual Sikhlens Exhibit and Film Festival on the Chapman University campus, hopefully physically all together. Please take care. Stay safe, take care of yourselves and your families, and enjoy the exhibit and the film festival. Thank you so much.
My name is Kevin Ross, Interim Dean of the Leatherby Libraries, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to share a few words with all of you this morning. First, and most importantly, I hope that all of you are staying safe and healthy. During this pandemic, it is even more important that we all realize we share this world together, and each of us brings to the table special gifts of kindness and generosity as we make an effort to help each other during times of need. In my new role as Interim Dean, I am committed to promoting diversity throughout the library and across the university campus. I have worked at Chapman for over 20 years, and I have over 25 years of experience working in higher education as a teacher, librarian, and administrator. During my many years of service, I have been supportive of diversity projects, displays, events, and exhibits. In fact, diversity is one of the Leatherby Library's major goals for this year. And in that regard, please know that this includes my commitment to the success of Sikhlens and our Sikh friends. Part of our responsibility at Chapman University is to promote global citizenship. One of the ways that we can accomplish this is by partnering with like-minded individuals who understand and value the importance of diversity in our society. So this is an honor to speak with you today. And please know that my support of Sikhlens is authentic and sincere. I value our partnership and our friendship. But leadership comes in many packages. And Jessi Singh has been a leader on our campus, especially in light of his being named to the Chapman University Board of Governors in January 2019. This appointment demonstrates to the university and the Sikh community the importance of Sikh culture and the value that we all place on Jessi's leadership. But Jessi has not done this all on his own, and I wanted to offer a special thank you to Gurpreet Singh for being a partner to Jessi and for being so supportive of these initiatives over the years. Traditionally, this celebration would occur in the Doy and D. Henley Reading Room, as it has in the past. This is where we have traditionally celebrated the Sikhlens exhibit and the anniversary of the Sikhism in American Story Room, generously funded by Gurvendra Suri. Beginning with the 2013 exhibit of Sikhs in the Great War, and culminating in last year's exhibit on lost heritage, the Sikh legacy in Pakistan, a glimpse of Guru Nanak's travels, this year will be our 8th year of celebration with our Sikh friends and colleagues. And I cannot be more thrilled that this year will also include our first virtual exhibit. These previous exhibits, whether focusing on 1984 and the Great War, or explaining the proper way to wrap a turban in an awesome display, have become a part of the expansive Sikh American archives. We hope that our collaborative partnership with the Sikh community will see this archive continuing to grow over the coming years. These archives have also become a part of the university's digital commons, so that this information is now literally accessible from around the world. Today, we will be celebrating our 8th annual opening of an exciting exhibit highlighting the comic art of Vishwajeet Singh. I look forward to seeing this new and exciting exhibit. In conclusion, I would like to offer my gratitude to all members of the Sikh community for being willing to collaborate on projects, for providing us with awesome yearly Sikh calendars, which we all love, and for your support and partnership over the past 8 years. I look forward to strengthening our relationship even more in the future. I would like to wish each and every one of you a successful Sikhlens Film Festival, and I look forward to the days when we can share our time together in person and break bread. Thank you again for this opportunity to speak with you today. I wish you all peace, prosperity, good health, and happiness.
Thank you, Ezra and Dean Ross. I'd now like to introduce our first keynote speaker. Many of you know him as he has spoken at Sikhlens events in the past. Vishwajeet Singh is a New York City-based cartoonist, writer, performance artist, and creator of SickTunes.com. For the past few years, he has been traveling across the US with his Captain America persona, armed with his turban, beard, and humor, tackling fear, anxiety, bigotry, and intolerance. He hosts talks and keynotes on diversity, inclusion, vulnerability, and storytelling in schools, universities, and companies. He is also the subject of the Sikhlens production Red, White, and Beard. Tonight, he'll be talking about his art, answering questions, and launching this year's Sikhlens virtual art exhibit, The Comic Art of Vishwajeet Singh.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. The story of human race is a fascinating tale of dark and light, ups and down, triumphs and challenges, war and peace. And it never ends, never stops. We find ourselves in the year 2020, our lives appended, completely changed by a global infectious disease pandemic that we call COVID-19. Every single speck of creation on this planet has been impacted. And for this reason, the Sikhlens Sikh Arts and Film Festival for the first time is coming to you virtually. Thanks to technology that we can do that. Sikhlens Festival is based out of Southern California. I'm based out of New York City, and you, the audience, are making this festival go global for the first time. Something we didn't plan on, but that's just how it happened. It is my incredible pleasure and honor to be the keynote speaker for this year's Sikhlens Festival. It is a double honor for me to be the illustrator for the art that is going to be gracing the pages of the Sikhlens calendar for the year 2021. Sikhlens and Chapman University have come together in this really amazing relationship in the past 20 years. Basically, the entire 21st century, the young century, and they've created this amazing talent pool of storytellers. And to me, I see this effort, this relationship as a garden. Sikhlens Festival offers tools and seed full of ideas to a group of creative gardeners. These creative gardeners are filmmakers, storytellers, artists, And these gardeners, they come up with a seed full of ideas. They drop these seeds in the garden, and they wait for them to, they just see what happens. They sprout. And while these seeds sprout, who gets to support this festival, this garden? There's a lot of people. The Chapman University Dodge School of Film and Media Arts, the Sikhlens Foundation, its board of trustees, its staff, its volunteers, its founders. Special thanks to Mindy and Ray. And most importantly, you, the audience, the fans, the supporters, the donors. And in the last many years that Sikhlens has been happening, it has led to an amazing medley, colorful medley of films and art that is having a global impact. I happen to be an artist whose story found home in the Sikhlens Festival in the Sikhlens Garden. In the year 2014, 3 young graduates from Chapman University, with the support of Sikhlens Festival, decided they wanted to capture my story, my performance art story. So they flew from Southern California to New York, and they spent a few days with me. They came to my home with camera and recordings and everything, and we traveled up and down New York City on the subway by foot, and they released a film many months down the line, a lot of hard work. In January 2015, online, they decided they're not going to go to the film circuit. They're going to release this film online. It's Sikhlens production. And they called it Red, White, and Beard. And this film got a lot of press coverage, international, national press coverage, and it kind of took a life of its own. And what transpired in a few months after that really kind of changed my life in many ways. That is why I'm sitting here in front of you. Things might be different if that film hadn't been launched. There's a couple of stories I want to share with you. Inspired by this film, there was a teacher, an elementary school teacher in Boston, who created a lesson plan for 3rd graders. This was in a magazine. This is how I found out. This was in a magazine. She created a lesson plan for 3rd graders who were to create superheroes inspired by their own life stories. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. That's really beautiful. Second was a couple that I ran into while shooting this film who saw me twice on a subway on the same day. And they said to me, hey, what's going on? And they learned a little bit about me. The husband emailed me next day, and he basically told me he was visiting New York City for the first time in 13 years. He came here in 2001 after the attacks of 9/11 to give support to the first responders. And now he was back to visit the city, to see Ground Zero, to see a soccer game, just reconnect with the past. And he told me, he emailed me, this is all a story he shared by email a day later. And he said to me, your version of Captain America, Vishwajeet, is what my version of Captain America is. And to me, that is the power of storytelling. Story of a Captain America, of a superhero that does not exist, whose uniform I wore connected me to a police officer in Arizona. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our challenge today. How do we get to tell my, everybody's story? How do we get to listen to their stories? And by taking up that challenge of creating that space for everybody's stories to be told, we can begin to take the first steps to create a just and equality-based world. It's a big challenge, but it starts with a simple goal. Let's tell our simple stories. My story begins in the city of Washington, D.C., nation's capital. I was born in a hospital barely 2 miles from the White House. I spent the first 4 years in Washington, D.C. with my parents. My parents are from India. They decided they wanted to move back to India. They had some personal reasons. I moved back with them. I spent my childhood in India. I had a childhood, pretty loving parents, but I got bullied a lot in school out of the streets of Delhi. I spent a lot of my summers in Punjab, my parents' native state. I survived a genocidal massacre of Sikhs in 1984 in the first week of November. We had a mob that came to our house. A lot of Sikhs were hunted down. We were lucky. We survived, but many were not lucky. Thousands perished. And a few years down the line, I moved back to the land of my birth. And I was planning to go to college, getting ready to go to college. And I was greeted on the streets of Los Angeles by many strangers who did not bother to know my story, did not ask for my story, but they judged me based on what I looked like, my turban at the time, a little sprouting beard, and they told me to go back home. They laughed in my face. They called me names. And I started having this identity crisis. Who was I? Was I American? Was I Sikh? Why am I wearing a turban and beard? I didn't have good answers to these questions. I grew up in a family that looked Sikh, but my parents were not really practicing Sikhs. I mean, well, at the time I didn't know. I just thought, hey, you're just a Sikh just because you look like one. You have a name that identifies you as Sikh. You call yourself a Sikh, you're a Sikh. And all of these questions by second year in college kind of led me down a path where I decided to take off my turban, shave my beard off. And I said, look, I need to find my place. I need to define my place in society and find who I am. And what became my guide in this process is something I like to call time machine. I discovered a time machine that allowed me to travel across time, to go into spaces that I have existed in the past, spaces in the future, spaces that have never existed. And this is a time machine that actually all of us have access to. And I know you're probably thinking, okay, Vishwajeet, what are you talking about? Time machine, they don't exist. Well, they do. Books are time machines. A good book, a good story can allow you to travel across space and time, can impact you in ways you cannot fathom. I, through books, discovered a story of a man 100 years ago, who lived 100 years ago, named Siddhartha. Many of us know him as Buddha today, but the story of Siddhartha is amazing. And I was like, wow, this is a cool story. This is a cool human being. And from that story, I read more. I started practicing Buddhist meditations. I did Taoist meditations. And eventually, by the time I'm in grad school, I decided, I actually spent a few months with my brother who was really into the Sikh faith. He was listening to a lot of Sikh hymns, which we call Gurbani and Kirtan. And I listened to some of that Gurbani. I listened to some of this poetic words put together in a musical form, ragas. And I fell in love with Kirtan. I fell in love with this poetry. And I decided for the first time in my life, I am going to follow the path of Sikhi, the path of Sikh. And it took me a couple of years to grow my hair long. And by the time I had long enough hair to put a bun on top of my head, to tie this turban, to have this long beard, the year was 2001, the month was August. I was living and working very close to New York City at the time. And we all know what happened a month later, the tragic attacks of 9/11. And that changed my life in ways that I could not fathom again. I was now, for most Americans, somebody who did not belong here. People told me, good people from all walks of life, go back home, you don't belong here. Call me all kinds of names. And that went on for a long time. Even now, there are days when people tell me, who don't know my story, go back home. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what do I do with this? How do I deal with people's ignorance? Maybe bigotry, maybe intolerance. And what came to my rescue, again, was something very unique, a cartoon that captured my predicament in lines and words with turban and beard. And I said, wow, this is really cool. It took me a few weeks to figure this out, but I'm thinking, you know what? I am going to use the art of cartooning to tell my story and story of others who look like me. So I started cartooning in the year 2002. And I started a website called sicktoons.com. I changed cartoons to Sikh, called it Sicktoons. And I have two rules. One, I'm going to create characters who look like me, who look like my parents, who look like family and friends. Second, I'm going to tell their story, be it they're based in the US, Canada, Europe, Asia. I'm going to tell their stories. And I started doing that. And years down the line, I decided in the year 2011, I'm going to go to the New York City Comic Festival, one of the biggest festivals on the planet. And I'm going to take my Sikh art, I'm going to showcase it, I'm going to sell it. And I was thinking, okay, how do I stand out in this big comic festival? What do I create to attract attention? And that year, the first Captain America movie had come out. And I had seen the poster, and I'm thinking in my head, you know what? I should create a Captain America with a turban and beard. And that Captain America is going to fight hate and intolerance. So I created a poster, big poster, and I took it to the festival, and I put it on as a banner, and lo and behold, for the 3 days I was there, something weird and magical happened. People kind of got confused. They're like, what is that? Why does Captain America have a turban and beard? That's cool, but why is Captain America Muslim? And I said, well, this Captain America is Sikh. Captain America can be Muslim. And it started conversations. I had a photographer who eventually became a friend of mine, a Jewish Brazilian-American photographer, who said to me, Vishwajeet, you should come back next year dressed up as Captain America. And I said, nope, I don't think so. And I knew my reasons for that. I've been bullied all my life. I've survived a genocide. I've survived through 9/11. I've been told by many people all my life, you don't belong here. Go back home, wherever that home is. Why would I wear a leotard, skin-tight uniform of a comic superhero and even attract more attention on me? It took Fiona, the photographer, a year to convince me. Finally, in 2013, June 2013, I donned that uniform, really nervous, really anxious, step out on the streets of New York, and it's like I've entered a parallel universe. People hugged me, embraced me, took photos of me, followed me. Police officers took photos of me. I got access to a fire department truck. I got pulled into weddings. For those 8-9 hours, I was like in a parallel universe where people saw me with a fresh pair of eyes and they were just like, whoa, you are an American superhero. And that transformed my life in ways that I didn't realize at the time, because in the coming months and years, I started getting invitations from late night comedy shows, from schools, from festivals, people saying, hey, we would like you to come and share your story, and please don your uniform. I have been to Washington, D.C. I've been to the Capitol, to the halls of political power. I've been to the Republican National Convention in 2016 in Cleveland. I have been to schools and companies sharing my story in this uniform. And, it's been an amazing, strange, weird journey, which eventually a few years ago led me to decide I'm going to give up my career as an engineer. I'm going to transition to have a full-time career as a storyteller, as a diversity speaker, as an artist, as an illustrator, as a cartoonist. And for the past few years, I've been traveling across the US, going to schools, museums, festivals, private companies, government agencies, non-profit agencies. I've had the honor and pleasure of going to NASA. I've visited companies like Google and Apple, and public schools, private schools, and I'm sharing my story through cartoons, but I'm connecting that stories to other people's stories. Our plots are all connected, and I am dropping seeds of everyone on this planet being able to tell their stories and listen to each other's stories. That's my main vision and mission. And one of the stories that has been my guide for my entire life, that I heard when I was a young kid, and I've heard it many times since, and I want to quickly share with you, is the story of Paikanaya. Paikanaya was a Sikh who lived in the time of the 10th master, the 10th Guru of Sikhs, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, in the 1700s. And so the story goes, there's a battle happening. Guru Gobind Singh and his Sikhs are fighting an army of the ruler of the time who had attacked Sikhs, and so this battle is happening. And there's a lull in this battle. A lot of people are injured and killed. And in that period, as people are these armies are taking, stock of their losses and what needs to happen next, Paikanaya is taking this bag full of water and is going and he's tending to the injured. He's providing care to the injured. And the Sikh soldiers saw Paikanaya give water to Sikh soldiers and to the enemy soldiers. They complained to Guru Gobind Singh Ji, Paikanaya is doing this. He's giving water to the enemy. He's giving support to the enemy. Guru Gobind Singh said, okay, let me find out what's happening. He called for Paikanaya. Paikanaya comes to him and said, Paikanaya, this is what I'm hearing. Is that true? He's like, yes, it is true. He said, why are you giving water to the enemy soldiers? He said, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, I see the light that you talk about, this force that permeates the entire universe that you talk about. I see that in everyone. I see that in you, in the Sikhs, fellow Sikhs, and I see that in those enemy soldiers. And Guru Gobind Singh said to all the Sikhs at the time, the Paikanaya has found the secret of life. He is a true Sikh. He's a true student of life because he is seeing that light in everyone. And the fact of the matter is the Sikh faith, this Sikh journey is all about that force that is present in every speck of creation. You have it, I have it. And our goal is to make sure this force that is defined by this first words spoken by Guru Nanak that are in our holy spiritual guide, the Guru Granth Sahib, this energy is described by Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the founder of Sikh faith, in the following words. This energy, the Ik Onkar we call it, is timeless, self-creating, fearless, beyond time and space. It's essentially bliss. And you and I need to figure out a way of connecting to the source. It needs to be our North Star. It needs to be our GPS. Let it be your GPS. Remember, you have a unique story, but your story is connected to every other story out there. We need to find a way of sharing, of telling our stories and listening to our stories. Create library full of stories in your physical bodies, in your hearts, in your minds. Just pack it up with stories. In your homes, have books. Just pack it up with stories. And let these stories, over time, transform you and the world. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vishwajeet, you have had quite a few twists and turns in your life. You figured out a way to have a creative outlet to challenges thrown your way. Can you have a moving story without dramatic twists and plots?
Absolutely. Yes, you can. Stories do not have to be based upon tragedies or some profound events. Some of the most beautiful stories have been written about a dream or rainfall or sirens hurling in the background. It's the imagination that can make you go, even in a simple story, make you smell things, make you feel things. So yes, you absolutely can have powerful stories that are not rooted in tragedies or profound events.
You talked about Sikhlens, Sikh Arts and Film Festival as a garden for sprouting Sikh stories. That is quite the allegory. Do you see many examples of similar efforts in the Sikh world?
Unfortunately, no. I do not see very many examples of Sikhlens at all.
Why not?
Well, it's a complicated reason to get to that answer why we don't see a lot of Sikhlens around the globe. Is you have to know the Sikh story, the Sikh history really well, and I'm not somebody who can claim that I know it very well, but I know quite a bit of it. I'm still learning, and one of the things that I've seen in a history is it's a beautiful history. It's a history that has had a lot of upheavals. Sikhs have a very young history. They've gone through a lot of upheavals. They have rarely had peaceful periods of more than 50 years where societies could flourish and ideas could flourish and arts could flourish. So that's one big reason. But I would also say, in some ways, it's an onus we have to take as a community, that we are a community that has a lot of resources, very hardworking, but we have not used our resources to really think in the long term. We don't have long-term visions as envisioned by our gurus and many who follow them. I really feel we Sikhs are a very short-term, ostentatious bunch who love to sort of create a splash in the short run.
Can you elaborate further about what long-term vision you were talking about?
Yeah, so one of the things about Sikhs is we hail from a really beautiful lineage of humility, compassion, and courage. And it's a lineage that's founded on two art forms, poetry and music. That is what the gurus used, and the other sants and who created poetry and set it to ragas. That's Guru Granth Sahib Ji, our spiritual guide today for us. It is not about what our gurus look like. A lot of Sikhs have photos of gurus in their homes. It's really about their life stories, their message, their actions that should be inspiring us. And we struggle to live up to Sikh values. One example is, although our gurus emancipated women before Europe emancipated women, today we don't give women a lot of equality. Women do not run most of our gurdwaras; they're run by men, and there's many other examples. So we have long ways to go, and it is not an accident that the Sikhlens Festival has flourished in a place like Southern California, where we have relative prosperity and peace for Sikhs who live here. But I would say to Sikhs out there who have the means to really think in the long term, to think about creating many more Sikh lenses or similar ideas around the globe, so we can leave support structures for the present and the future generations to build upon our stories from the past, present, and the future.
How do we as Sikhs, especially parents to Sikh children, instill this long-term vision and love for art forms?
There are many ways we can do this, but there's one way that I'm going to share with parents who are listening in, and that is by creating libraries in your homes. Every Sikh home around the globe, depending on your means, can be a simple library, but every Sikh home should have a library. And that library should be full of books in Gurmukhi, in English, in Punjabi, all kinds of languages, all kinds of books, fiction, non-fiction. Expose your kids to knowledge, all kinds of knowledge. To question things is okay. To have doubts is okay. Make sure your kids have libraries at home. You will learn as well. Don't just raise your kids to be doctors and engineers and lawyers, to make money, to have big homes, to have just savings and big homes and cars. Those things are important. But what is important, more important, is to teach them about leadership, about a growth mindset, spiritual growth, personal growth, professional growth, for them to excel in whatever they are good at, whatever their dreams are. They want to be a chef? Go be the best chef out there. You want to be an astronaut? Go shoot for the stars. You want to be a teacher? What a noble profession. You can impact lives. Go do that. You want to be a social worker? What an amazing profession. It's a human service-based profession. Everything requires hard work. Inspire them. Give them tools to work hard, to excel. And remember, our gurus were artists. So do not just focus on STEM. Focus on STEAM. Science, technology, engineering, math. The A is for arts. Our gurus were artists. So allow your kids to follow arts and STEM disciplines. You can engage in all of them. I have through my journey. And you can learn something today, you can learn something else tomorrow. So please grow libraries in your homes.
If you were to have the chance to go back in time and have another chance at this life without the pressure to be a doctor, an engineer, what profession would you choose?
If I got another chance at life, this life, I would love to be a writer of books, articles. I might work for magazines, I might become a journalist, but I want to be a full-time writer. That would be my vocation. That would be my dream.
You talk about books being that time machine that helped you carve your own journey. What are some of the books that helped you do this?
There are many books, and it's a hard question, but I'll give you a few names. Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, Anthropologist on Mars by Oliver Sacks, Flatland by Edwin Abbott, Tibetan Book of Living and Dying by Sogyal Rinpoche, and The Gift, Poems by Hafiz by Daniel Ladinsky. Those are the few that come to mind, and there's many more. I want to once again thank Sikhlens Festival, Chapman University for having me this year as their keynote speaker, as the illustrator for the calendar. What you're doing is having a profound impact today and especially into the future. You're creating filmmakers, directors, so many other artists who might head companies, who might be the head of Netflix or Hulu or Disney, and companies we don't even know yet. But they will be telling stories of Sikhs, of the past, of the present, and the future. And that is an amazing gift. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. It is an incredible pleasure to be the illustrator for the Sikhlens calendar for the year 2020-21. The cover art for the calendar is an eye chart that I created in the year 2002 in response to the post 9/11 environment here in the United States and many other places where so many people were judging each other based on their looks, and it extends to how we judge each other based on their backgrounds and religion and race and gender and sexuality and a whole lot of other things. We need to get to know each other's stories. We need to judge each other based on each other's character, our actions, and not the other wonderful diversities that make us special and unique. The art for the month of January is a piece that kind of focuses on a very central theme in the Sikh faith, which is ardas. It's a supplication. It's a communication, a conversation you have with the creator of this universe. And the Sikh faith journey is about merging with this creator energy, but you have a lot of distractions along the way, which are known as Maya, illusions in the Sikh faith. For the month of February, I created an art to commemorate Black History Month and to sort of shift the lens and focus on our internal selves. It's very easy to talk about others who are racist or prejudiced, but we all have the potential to be prejudiced and have biases. And within the Sikh community, especially those of us who hail from the Far East and from the land of the Gurus, unfortunately, many of us have prejudices and stereotypes toward people of darker hue, be it Africans, African Americans, and Dalits. So it's very imperative that we acknowledge our own biases before we can start to really take steps to become better versions of who we are and ultimately anti-racist. The art for the month of March is quite simple. It focuses on the word Sikh, which means a disciple, a student of life. And I kind of took this into a classroom setting, which I get to work in a lot. And for those who are not familiar with the word Sikh, they might find it curious. Wow, you're a student of life, and do you get any degree for it? The month of April is very special for the Sikh calendar. It's the month of Vaisakh. It's the month when the 10th Master, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, initiated the Khalsa, the pure ones, the community. It really is an initiation for Sikhs to really start this journey towards merging with that Ek Onkar, the energy that permeates the entire universe, but at the same time be in the service of humanity. It ultimately is one of the most diversity, inclusion, equity-based event that happened in 1699, where Guru Gobind Singh Ji put out a call, and 5 individuals from radically different backgrounds and speaking different languages came together to become Singhs and Kaurs. And it's amazing to imagine that how 5 of these individuals coming from very different backgrounds came together and communicated, but they did. And they started a movement and a community that to this day is a standard, a bar, a metric for us to initiate and start our journeys on the Sikh path. The art for the month of May is about hair. Hair has a special significance and place in the Sikh faith, and I'm not going to say much about this image. I want this to kind of sit here and let you wonder about, what images and what thoughts might come as a response to this art. I have gone through phases of short hair and long hair, and I'm going to leave it at that. Sikh road signs in the month of June. It kind of, these are signs, I kind of if you're driving by on a highway, you could see these as signs of the wonderful journey along the Sikh path, but also pitfalls along the Sikh path. Kirtan is hymns from the Sikh faith, poetry from the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, our spiritual guide, sung to ragas and music. That's the ultimate sort of way to connect to the power, the energy that permeates the universe, to uproot Maya, illusion, to merge with that Ekonkar, Seva along the way, Seva being community service. But then you have caste as be beware. Caste is something that has divided Sikhs for a long time. It should not, but it has. And beware of Babas, many fake gurus who lead us astray. And then, of course, hold on to your turban, bumps ahead. A little bit of humor there. The month of July, Independence Day here in America. And this slogan we've been hearing a lot for the past 4 years, Make America Great Again. And honestly, what makes America great is its incredible sheer diversity of thought, background, and people who come from all over the globe. It's a land of immigrants. And what makes America greater is that diversity. It is not about going back. It's about moving forward. And so be proud of all your languages that you speak besides English. The month of August is a set of business cards inspired by this amazing Punjabi tradition that a lot of Sikhs hail from, and it's a tradition of nicknames. Punjabi nicknames are incredible. It's humorous. Many of them don't make any sense. Some do. But I just have always found them to be really smile-inducing. And so I create these sort of fake business cards, but inspired by real Punjabi nicknames. The month of September is a smartphone app, and that app focuses on the 5 thieves, the 5 vices that we hear a ton in the Sikh faith, and this journey we have towards merging with the force, the Ekonkar, the energy that permeates the universe. It's sort of the struggle with these 5 vices that we all have, the anger, lust, and greed, and attachment, and ego, and how you sort of overcome those along your way to merge with the divine, if you may. The month of October is a conversation a little girl is having with her grandpa, and this kind of, I was thinking about gender equality or lack thereof in the Sikh community. Our gurus emancipated women well before Europe did. Yet we struggle at times to give equality to women and talk about gender issues before getting too defensive about it. And so we should be open to question, and we should not tell the little ones, why are you asking this question? That's not a good question. There is no such thing as not a good question. We need to be able to answer and reason when it comes to difficult questions, and we should focus on that golden standard of giving equality to all sexes, men, women, and all kinds of other genders that we have in our midst today. If you look at Sikh history in terms of years, one year that really stands out and will stand out as a pivotal, path-breaking year is the year 1984. In that year, in the month of June and November, the Indian state, through its many apparatuses and tools, attacked the Sikh community, its bodies, physical architecture of gurdwaras, and many other businesses and homes, and thousands perished. Due to a lot of complicated political factors and struggles. I survived through both of them. I was in Punjab in June when the attacks happened on Gurdwaras, and I was in the capital city of Delhi when mobs formed in response to the killing of the Prime Minister at the time, Indira Gandhi, and we were lucky we survived, but many did not. And this is a year that has changed the course of Sikh history and will do so for the future as well, and we don't realize it in many ways. And I wrote this poem as a reflection back on this year, keeping in mind that what drives us in response to this grave injustice is compassion, justice, and humility. And the last art on this calendar for the month of December is focusing on art. I'm an artist, and I feel in many ways as much thankful as I am to Sikhlens for supporting Sikh arts. There are not a lot of Sikh institutions and communities within our own community that support, nurture, and create foundations for Sikh artists to flourish. and we're so used to free Sikh art, but at the end of the day, we consume a lot of art. We don't produce a lot of art. And that's our irony. We talk about how people don't know who we are, but we don't like to produce art. We don't like to support. We don't like to support by spending our resources to create institutions to support art. So I hope in the very near future, we'll produce artists as professionals whose full-time jobs are to be writers, painters, filmmakers, and many others. Last but not the least is a piece of art I created in commemoration of frontline workers who in the year 2020 with COVID-19 pandemic have put their life on the line so we can take for granted things that we need for our existence, medical care and food, keep getting supplied to us from farmers to truck drivers to medical workers, transit workers, grocery workers, emergency personnel, delivery workers, pharmacists. Thank you to all of you and others who have tried to maintain a certain semblance of normalcy amongst this global pandemic. This series you're going to see now is a little bit of a change from the cartoon illustration that I showed you. I created a cartoon many years ago, which was an illustration of a Captain America inspired by the first Captain America movie in 2011. And I had this vision that Captain America should have a turban and beard, and that Captain America fights hate and intolerance. And that illustration took a life of its own. A photographer based in New York City at the time, Fiona Abode, convinced me, it took her a year, convinced me to don that uniform myself and walk out on the streets of New York to push people's perceptions of what it means to be American. And so this is me in Central Park. And this was an 8-9 hour outing, and it really changed the course of my life. It was an amazing day, which had experiences that I just cannot fathom until that point ever having. This is me at my home cleaning one of my shields. I have a few shields. This is a shield that was gifted to me by my wife. It's a metal shield, so it's pretty heavy. It's like 14 pounds. But it's really one of my special shields that I use for special photo shoots. This is me in front of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., in the nation's capital. And I was doing a series inspired by Black Lives Matter, and I'm holding a banner, which is a quote from one of the premier scholars on race in America, Ibram Kendi. And it's really talking about prejudices we all have and the foundations of our amazing nation, but foundations based on slavery. So it's just really that reflection all of us having, hey, you know what, we all are part of this problem, but we're also part of the solution. This is me at a rally in Cleveland, Ohio, year is 2016, and this is in the summer when the Republican National Convention was happening. And I'm holding a sign, Love Trumps Hate. And there were many rallies that happened across the nation at this time of the year, and I really felt it was necessary for me to be part of this movement at the time. This is me in Washington, D.C. The year is 2017, month is January, so this is the inauguration of the 45th President of the United States, and I'm holding a banner, and it's kind of a spoof off the whole Make America Great Again, but talking about how we all, our shared diversity is what makes America great. This is me at a Memorial Day parade in New York City. It's one of the long traditions of parades that happen in New York City. And I, along with a Dutch photographer, decided one year to go and uninvited become part of this parade. It was quite a special experience. This is me on the set of a comedy show on FX called Totally Biased with Kamau Bell, and one of the anchors was Hari Kondabolu, who's a New York-based stand-up comedian, an amazing thinker and comedian. And this is some of the people who were working on that show, who dressed up as superheroes from the comic world. So this is quite a amazing experience, and a funny experience at that as well. When I did that first photo shoot in June 2013, one of the most amazing experiences on that day was me and Fiona running into this fire department truck in Central Park in New York City. And Fiona asked them, hey, can we have your truck for a few minutes so we can take some photos? And amazingly, these fire department officials said, yes, you can have our truck. 4 of them were in the truck. They left it. They let me have the truck all by myself, and I was pretending I was driving and jumping in and out of it. That was the power I had that day just by wearing this uniform of Captain America for that day, even in my turban and beard, and just kind of changing the narrative and getting these fire department officials giving me a truck that, you can try this. I don't think you would get fire department officials to say yes to you, but I had that special power because I was donning that uniform that you see. This is me, again, back in Jan 2017. In the background is the nation's capital, the seat of political power, and me holding the banner reminding everyone in America, we all, in our incredible diversity, make America the special place that it is. This is me at Women's March in Jan 2017. Almost 1 million people who showed up for women's rights, for celebrating women, and I'm here with these 2 young girls, future leaders, and just saying thanks to the women, to the superheroes in our lives who bring us into this planet, who raise us, and who are perhaps the strongest of human beings on this planet. Definitely more stronger than men. That is in my humble opinion. So thank you. Thank you to all the women out there who make life possible. This is me with a fellow Captain America at the New York City Comic-Con 4 years ago in 2016. And we had crossed our path a few times, and I was there in my uniform and with a very sort of important message in October 2016 of getting out and voting. So that was how our paths crossed, and a reminder that Captain America's come in all kinds of colors and hues. This is me back at the Women's March in Jan 2017. 5 ladies I ran into, and we decided to take this photo, and it's a reminder they're all wearing these straps that have rights we take for granted mention on them, but these are rights that many had to fight for us to enjoy them today. Human rights, sanctuary, the right to protest, to dissent, and reproductive rights. And it's important for us to know that the amazing, great place that America is, it became that way through a lot of peaceful struggle on part of many, many, many Americans. So be thankful, be active, be engaged politically and civically. Enjoy these rights, but know that these rights were fought for over dozens, at times hundreds of years. And be in gratitude, but stay active and educate yourself about your history. Thank you very much. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you, Vishwajeet. And now, everyone in the audience can have a copy of Vishwajeet's comic art as it is featured in this year's Sikhlens Art Calendar. Speaking of the calendar, here's Jessi Singh to present the 2021 Sikhlens Art Calendar to Kevin Ross.
On behalf of Sikhlens Foundation, I would like to present our 2021 Sikhlens Art Calendar to Dean Kevin Ross. Thank you.
And Jessi, I would like to thank you so much for this calendar. We get one of these every year, an annual calendar, and we will add this to our Sikh archives. And we're very grateful for your support, for your dedication, and the raising of awareness of Sikh culture and Sikh history for all of us. So thank you so much for this calendar.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessi and Dean Ross. And now, I'd like to introduce another regular at Sikhlens events, Dean Gail Stearns of the Fish Interfaith Center at Chapman University. Dr. Stearns is the Irvin C. and Eddie Chapman Dean of the Wallace All Faiths Chapel and Associate Professor of Religious Studies at Chapman. Dr. Stearns works with students, faculty, and staff, And through Chapman's beautiful Wallace All Faiths Chapel, she brings together persons and organizations from many faiths throughout Orange County. She fosters interfaith celebrations and gatherings, as well as academic conversations in the areas of faith and religion. She will give her welcome and then introduce one of our next speakers.
Sat Sri Akal. As Dean of the Wallace All Faiths Chapel at Chapman University, it is my pleasure to greet you for this year's virtual Sikhlens Sikh Arts and Film Festival. The opening of this weekend, normally held at the Fish Interface Center, is one of our favorite events of the year. We love seeing you and hearing the global perspective brought by your guest speakers. Throughout the years, I have learned a tremendous amount from the Sikh community, including of your deep spirit of caring for persons in need, regardless of religion or nationality, a dedication to education through film and art, and simple generosity and kindness. As people of faith and interfaith partners, we share these commitments. My deepest thanks for the wonderful partnership we have forged with Sikhlens, with Biki and Gurpreet Singh, and with Leatherby Libraries throughout the years. We truly miss seeing you in person this year, but it is my honor to greet you for this virtual event. And now it is my privilege to introduce to you Jagjot Singh, Silicon Valley investor and entrepreneur, who will introduce our second keynote speaker.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Jessi Kaur to you. Jessi is an author, an international speaker, and she is now becoming the authoritative voice on how to apply Gurbani to our daily lives. She speaks and writes with passion to clarify the message of the Sri Guru Granth Sahib. She has written 3 books, Dear Takuya, The Royal Falcon, and my personal favorite, The Enchanted Garden of Talwandi. She has been written up as a pioneer of Sikh children's literature, and her books are being used as enrichment curriculum in a number of places and as teachers' resource books in the US, UK, and Canada. Her essays on Sikhi and contemporary works have been published in numerous journals worldwide. She has delivered workshops and seminars at international conferences. She's conducted youth workshops, great job by the way, and has been invited to speak at the Parliament of World Religions numerous times. She's created literally a vast variety of work with her writings on the Sri Guru Granth Sahib, and through her writings and essays has been featured in TV shows and award-winning documentaries. And then she produced a play. She took the Royal Falcon and produced this wonderful musical play, which is of course based on one of her books. She has also been very prolific in the nonprofit side. She was a co-founder of International Institute of Gurmat Studies, and then the founder of IGS Now. She's also on the board of Kaur Foundation since its inception. As a professional, she works in the talent acquisition industry in Silicon Valley and has worked with some of the largest companies in the world. Before moving to the US, Jessi taught English literature at Delhi University, which is where she graduated from also. You can all find her work by going online to www.jessikaur.com.
Thank you so much for that very kind introduction. It is with great joy and deep gratitude to Vaheguru that I offer Home of the Beloved to you. It comprises of 50 core concepts from Sri Guru Granth Sahib that span the spiritual passage we undertake to go back to our true home, the source from where we emanated. I call it the home of the beloved. Over the last 40 years, in my many roles as an author, a speaker, counselor, I have traveled extensively giving workshops and seminars across the world. I have witnessed firsthand a hunger for spiritual guidance that is universal and spans different age groups, diverse faith traditions, and crosses geographical boundaries. There is a yearning for learning about the purpose of life, the mind, body, spirit connection, the realms that exist beyond the visible. Even if we are unaware of it, the soul yearns to connect with the divine while we stay engaged with life. I wrote Home of the Beloved to share the spiritual expansion that I experienced through the teachings that assuaged my yearning and nurtured my soul. There are many ways to nourish the soul and tune in to a higher power. Sages and saints throughout the centuries have shown us how to do it. The path shown by Sri Guru Granth Sahib is all-inclusive. It is without dogma. There are no elaborate observances, no mediators. It is founded on a connection with the divine that is reinforced by a daily individual practice and strengthened by being in the company of like-minded people. It entails elevating yourself and supporting others. As I started to understand it, it resonated in my inner core. While a daily practice is important, it's not enough. Bringing a higher consciousness into action by the way we live and interact with others is foundational. Life offers us mirrors of possibilities. To achieve the best outcome, we have to be the best version of ourselves. It made sense to me. My spiritual quest began with my fascination for the personality of Guru Gobind Singh. Stories of his valor, his regal bearing, the great sacrifices he made to free us of tyranny made him my larger-than-life hero. Over the years, my attachment to the personality of the Guru was replaced by a deep connection with the Shabad, the word manifestation of the divine. Gurbani became my personal living Guru. And although I've traveled much, none of my journeys was as rewarding as the journey inward with Gurbani as my beacon. The journey continues every day, and hopefully one day it'll take me back to the home of my beloved. In the book, I share how Gurbani filled my life with awe, love, and immense gratitude. It broke down the walls, blessed me with the awareness of oneness, and brought grace into my life. How I revel in that wonder and oneness is what I talk about in Home of the Beloved. Oneness is not a politically expedient statement to make in a polarized world. It is the nature, the very nature of the pure reality of Ik. It is manifested in the unity that underlies the diversity of Omkar. Home of the Beloveds speaks of the eternal truth, whose awareness dissolves our finite identity by connecting us to the expansion of the infinite. We become equipped to create an ecosystem of harmony and interdependency that thrives on the well-being of all. We need it today more than ever before. The 50 concepts of Home of the Beloved are an introduction to the core message of Sri Guru Granth Sahib, and they trace the landscape we encounter as we do the inner work. The first section addresses the timeless, universal principles, the gospel of Guru Nanak, the eternal truth of Ik, the wondrously manifested Omkar, the creative force behind all creation, the Nirbhav zone where all fear is dissipated, the divine love that harbors no enmity towards anyone, and the grace that empowers, heals, and transforms. The second section is dedicated to the practice of a seeker. We often wonder, what is the need of doing listening? Why is vichar or reflection important? And sometimes we question whether ardas is heard and wonder, what do we ask for? Home of the Beloved addresses these questions. How Nitnem, Simran, Kirtan, Vichar, Ardas keep us grounded in the chaos of life. How the company of Sat Sangat gives us wings to fly across the wide and deep chasms we encounter. How our practice becomes our anchor in good and troubled times. The third section is dedicated to the states of being that emerge as we proceed gradually on our quest. The realization of the importance of each breath, the reason for becoming a child again, the magnitude of selfless service, the beauty of Sahaj, the sanctuary of Saran, the strength of Siddak, the rewards of Sabr, and many more qualities that flower within us as we progress on the spiritual path are described. Different levels of consciousness reveal a new trait, a new gun, a positive quality that adds to the growth and inner radiance of the spiritual seeker. The path is full of challenges. We face obstacles and pitfalls that threaten our progress and become deterrents to our growth. Like an athlete, we have to overcome them. It is important to recognize their power and lure and be constantly vigilant of our thoughts and actions. We go through a chiseling of our mind. As negative proclivities drop, the light within us begins to shine brighter. It is reflected in the way we conduct ourselves in everyday life. The last section describes the planes of consciousness through which we ascend. Our journey starts on this planet, which is referred to as Dharamkhand. From here, we move on to the realm of spiritual knowledge and then spiritual endeavor. It is only with grace that we finally reach Sachkhand, the realm of truth, where the Beloved abides. The entire journey is about responsible engagement, discernment, discipline, the blossoming of love, and the experience of Anand, the joy and fulfillment that comes from grace. The path is finer than a strand of hair, sharper than a razor's edge. Home of the Beloved charts the journey with simple explanations of abstract concepts. Sri Guru Granth Sahib broke the barriers that separate religions and shattered the notion of any tradition having a monopoly over the divine. It is the walk we walk that defines us. It is not the label of any religion that elevates us to mystic planes and the ultimate embrace by the Beloved. It is how we embrace divinity in our every thought and action that matters. My interpretation of the concepts is first and foremost an outpouring of my love. The concepts form the essence of Sri Guru Granth Sahib and are immeasurably profound and subtle and often above the grasp of intellectual understanding. You may read the book sequentially or one concept at a time. Do take the time to reflect upon each concept. This is how the depth of the concept will be understood and revealed to you. My purpose is to ignite a spark. Your journey will be uniquely your own. And I hope that it fills your heart with as much wonder and inner joy that I experience that comes from Gurbani to me. I hope that Home of the Beloved deepens your connection with the Shabad Guru and it becomes your beacon in life. Onward in Chardi Kala, always. Let me read Siddiq to you. Siddiq is steadfast faith. It is the confidence of the seed that knows it will bloom. It is the trust of the stream that clashes with boulders to make its way to the ocean. It is the fortitude of the butterfly that breaks free from her confinement as a caterpillar. Siddiq nurtures the fetus in the darkness of the womb. Siddiq keeps the denuded tree in the fall standing steadfast while waiting for spring. Siddiq allows the peacock to shed its iridescent feathers each year, knowing that they will come back in full glory again. Siddiq is serene and full of hope at all times. Siddiq doesn't question. It dwells in certainty. A life lived in Siddiq is sweet. Death in Siddiq is fearless. Without Siddiq, the world is a place of turmoil where, like an autumn leaf stripped from its branch, one floats in banishment and falls into oblivion. Siddiq is learned from the shining stories of those who upheld their faith and were not defeated by adversity, those that gave up their lives rather than their principles. Sikh history is replete with legends of such men and women who continue to inspire us through the annals of time. Saints, masters, and devotees of all traditions are anchored to Siddiq. Their faith and confidence keep them committed to the divine. Siddiq heals hearts, strengthens resilience, and restores vitality. Even when defeat seems imminent, Siddiq leads us to victory. I'll read Seva to you. Seva. Seva is service without the trumpet of ego. It is a gift that seeks neither reward nor acknowledgement. True Seva is performed with selflessness. It is not easy to serve without ego and expectation of recognition or reward. With even a minuscule expectation, Seva becomes a commercial transaction. When all acts of Seva are committed to the divine, it becomes worship. Seva elevates the one who gives without obligating the one who receives. Who does one serve? Gurbani urges us to serve the divine. Serve those who are engaged in the service of the divine. Serve with loving devotion. Serve the hungry and the deprived. Serve the weak, the old, and the sick. Serve because the needy strike a chord in you, and you experience their need as your own. Serve with integrity. Serve the environment, the air, the water, the great Mother Earth. Serve to uplift, serve to beautify, and serve to transform. Serve the inner silence, the inner music, and the inner voice. Do not serve your greed or your base appetites, or the greed and base appetites of others. Do not serve grudges or remorse. Do not serve attachment or anger. Do not serve that which bloats your ego or the egos of others. Do not serve under pressure or in fear. Do not serve to flatter or to fawn. Serve because you are one with all.
Jessi, tell us, what inspired you to write this book, The Home of the Beloved?
So what inspired me to write the book was truly my love for Gurbani and my deep desire to share this beautiful, all-inclusive message is what made me write this book. During my talks at various venues, both Sikh and international, I very often came away with a feeling that people were hungering for more. Invariably, several individuals would come up from the audience and ask me if I could recommend a book that contained the core message of Sri Guru Granth Sahib in English. I chose 50 concepts that cover the basics and wrote Home of the Beloved as a starting point for any seeker who wants to understand the basics of Sri Guru Granth Sahib. And I hope that it inspires readers to take deep dives into the scripture on their own.
So as a journey of love, what does it take in time, coordination, and other resources to both write and then publish this book?
Thank you for understanding that it was a journey of love. It was also a labor of love for all of us that were engaged with it. I had a great team by Guru's grace that helped me in the publication of the book. My dear friend Jyoti from India customized the beautiful calligraphy font used for the concepts. Miran Fool from Maryland was my soul sister on this journey. She was a fastidious editor, untiring, demanding in her pursuit for clarity of the concepts as I wrote them. She also designed the book, and Commander Gage, a talented graphic artist, offered design elements to choose from and also did the layout for the book. It was not easy to make decisions because given that the book was about Gurbani, every design element had to be befitting of the sacred subject. The process of publication was very challenging. Upon my request, Indupal Singh, my Buaji's younger son, who lives in Mexico, took on the huge responsibility of getting the book printed. Now, he's not in the publishing business, but I knew that whatever he takes on, he will excel at it. He had to vet several printers and visit the offices before he chose one that he felt he could trust to do a good job. Amongst the many hurdles we had to cross was finding the exact tone of gold that we wanted to use for the book. It was not easily available. On March 18th, 2020, I got a video from Indupal in which he showed me the first copy of the book, fresh off the press. He was tearing up with gratitude upon seeing how beautiful it looked. He held it very reverently and prayerfully and said that he was grateful that the task I had assigned him to do had been accomplished and that the first batch of books were ready to be shipped. I was excited and was looking forward to a Vaisakhi launch. On March 19, 2020, a lockdown was declared due to COVID-19. Everything came to a grinding halt. An arduous wait of 6 months ensued, reinforcing the lesson that we may work hard to complete a task or a project. How and when it comes to fruition is in the hands of the divine.
How would you summarize the message or purpose of this book in one sentence?
I will need more than one sentence to answer this question. The purpose of the book is to make the message of Gurbani, of Sri Guru Granth Sahib, accessible to anyone who wants to have a flavor of the original quotations, as well as short and succinct explanations of fundamental concepts of Sri Guru Granth Sahib. The message is that all of us carry the divine light within us. We are connected with one another and are part of one human race. Our purpose in life is to realize our divinity and merge back with the beloved. And along the way, we support and serve one another through our loving actions. And very importantly, respect the environment, because we are connected with it intrinsically. Respect Mother Earth, who gives us so much.
Jessi, I've had the privilege of knowing you for a few decades. How would you describe yourself? And tell us about your life outside your resume.
My life outside my resume. Okay. I would describe myself as a daughter of the Guru, who has led a very blessed life. I've been rewarded way beyond my capabilities, and I have experienced Guru Prasad, without which I would be utterly lost. I have had amazing opportunities to learn and share the message of the Guru, and I believe that that is the purpose of my life. I feel that for the most part, people that come into my life have enriched me, and I'm filled with immense gratitude for the gifts that I've received and continue to receive every day of my life.
So who was your most eminent teacher?
I have been very lucky to have had several wonderful teachers in my life. Parents are always one's first teachers. My mother's sidq and my father's integrity have been inspirational for me. I'm always reminded by their lived example to remain steadfast in my faith and hold integrity as the highest value. I am deeply indebted to my brother and mentor, Kanwar Harbhajan Singh, also known as Captain Singh, who gave me the love of the Guru. He started the International Institute of Gurmat Studies with me as his co-founder, and I had an opportunity to learn from eminent Sikh scholars and historians that were invited to the Sikh youth camps held first in India and then internationally. I developed advanced curriculum for those campers who came back and taught at the camps, further enhancing my engagement with Sikhi and nurturing my love for Sikhi as well. I have learned so much from my husband, whose Chardikala is admirable. My mother-in-law's meticulous attention to detail taught me to be more mindful. My son's razor-sharp mind and deep insights have both amazed and informed me since he was very young. I have learned so much from my friends, many of whom are smarter and more worldly wise than me. My most abiding and eminent teacher and guide for the last several decades has been Sri Guru Granth Sahib. My Guru helps me to stay attuned with the divine. Every day brings new inspirations that become aspirations.
What is your message to the Sikh community?
My message to the community. My message to the community is, don't keep the beautiful message of Sri Guru Granth Sahib under wraps. Learn it, imbibe it, live it, share it. When we start living the message, we will make our world a better place. We will become instruments of peace and harmony.
Jessi, you've dedicated your life to teaching the Sikh youth. What is your message to that Sikh youth?
My message to the Sikh youth is, get to know your Guru. Spend time with Gurbani. Start with the translations if you need to. Learn Gurmukhi to really experience the flavor, the cadence, the beauty of the scripture. It'll be an investment in yourself, because the experience of reading and spending time with Gurbani in Gurmukhi is unsurpassed. I promise you that the world will reveal itself to you as you progress. You will start understanding. Gurbani will speak to you. With Sri Guru Granth Sahib as your personal living Guru, you will always have an anchor in life. Babaji Meher Karan, Guru Ang Sang, Guru Rakha, always.
Thank you, Jessi. And if anyone is interested in purchasing Jessi's new book, Home of the Beloved, you can contact her at jessikaur1@gmail.com. That is JESSIKAUR1@gmail.com. I'd now like to introduce you to Gurpreet Singh, who has a few closing remarks.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you to our Chapman guests, President Daniel Struppa, Dean Kevin Ross, Development Librarian Esra Nawar, and Dean Gail Stearns. Thank you to our sponsors, donors, supporters, and all of you, our audience. A very special thanks to our guest speakers, Vishwajeet and Jessi, both of whom are wonderful, unique artists, both in their different ways. One is a cartoonist and the other is a writer. Even though their topics were different, I found very similar threads in both of them. Both spoke of a spiritual path or journey and home. In different ways though. The path of Sikhi that Vishwajeet spoke of is a practical path that leads to the inward spiritual journey that Jessi espoused. Vishwajeet was told to go home very derogatorily, but home could be anywhere physically, but ultimately, truly, is where the heart is. The home of the beloved that Jessi has written about is the spiritual inward journey that takes your heart to the divine. Both paths and journeys lead to the same destination. Vishwajeet and Jessi both spoke so wonderfully that I can only salute and thank them sincerely for joining us today. I would like to close on a personal note. The earliest first supporter of Sikh Point, now Sikhlens, was my father, Biki's daddy ji, Narendra Singh. He passed away just 4 weeks ago and has left us values and a legacy that will continue on in the work that Sikhlens does. It will also continue on in our lives and the lives of the people who he impacted with what he did for them. Two very important, relevant values that stand out to me are, first, mentorship, value adding to somebody's life, especially through education and the opportunity to learn and grow. As I thought of this today, I realized that our Sikh gurus were themselves the greatest mentors we could possibly have to emulate. The second quality that I observed and still need to imbibe in myself is always smilingly replying Sahaje Sahaje when asked, Papa, how are you doing? As Sikhs, we have to learn to live within Pana or Vaiguru's Hukam, will, and also live our lives in Chardi Kala, practical optimism. My father's inward spiritual journey is the same as the one that Vishwajeet and Jessi spoke of, and I hope that he finds the home of the beloved. Thank you for being with Sikhlens this evening. Please do join us tomorrow, Friday evening, as well as Saturday and Sunday for all the wonderful programming that has been put together for you. You may find the program details at sikhlens.com. Also, please do subscribe to our dedicated YouTube channel, youtube.com/Sikhlens. Vaiguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaiguru Ji Ki Fateh.